What's up, queens? Welcome to Black Queens Uncut. Grab your wine, your vape, or whatever you need to relax so we can get into this queen chat. I'm Monique Lovelace. Queens, introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kiki Boom Boom.
What's up, guys? TK Trinidad.
And I'm super excited today, as I'm always excited with all of our guests. But today we are getting into another topic of Black mental health, which we've done before. But this time we have an actual person who is going to really get into it with us. She's an associate clinical social worker. She has her master's in social work, and she's also right now working on her doctorates in marital and family therapy. Yeah, family therapy. Get it out, Mo. Robynn Mays, we are so excited to have you. Hi,
Thank
Queen.
you. Yes. Hey, Queens. Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Yes.
Robyn.
Hi.
We are so excited for you to come on and talk about this, because the first time we had it was actually last year. We had this conversation and I got a lot of requests saying that it should have been a longer conversation. So I said, let's do a part 2. And I think Black History Month is the best time to do it so that we can talk about Black mental health, as I feel like it's a big ordeal. We also see and we've been seeing her advocated for forever, is Taraji P Henson. And I think it's great because even the fact that she has a platform now in arena just showing Black mental health and mental health, and not just like a foundation and stuff, because she does have her foundation stuff. I think it was a great topic to really bring to the forefront on our platform, as well as we've done this before. And I'm such a huge advocate for it. So thank you for coming. And
Thank you for having me.
yes. And we're going to jump right into it.
Let's do
So
it.
everybody, it's 2021 now. Update us on y'all's mental health. What's going on?
That's a good question. I laugh because I do remember the conversation, and I remember like all of our answers and how we were all in different places. And I know mentally a lot of us were like exhausted. We were in a weird place. I know for me, I'm in a much better place than I was last year when we had this conversation.
Mm.
It's weird because I'm in this weird space where I'm mentally exhausted, but I'm really happy. And I don't know what this is. And I remember I tweeted about it. I'm like, yo, I feel really good. Like, I'm more confident. I love myself a lot more. I wake up in a great mood, and I'm just genuinely fucking happy. Excuse my language, Robyn. But
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm mentally exhausted. So I was just trying to figure out what that meant. And I just think it means, because I'm the friend who I'm the Sagittarius friend where I'm like, come give me all your problems. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And I take on a lot of people's problems, my family's problems, and I don't really have time for myself. And that's not anyone's fault. This is just something that I've done. So I think I got to a point where I was so mentally exhausted. And I even had to tell my friends, like, guys, please don't FaceTime me. Please don't text me. I need a break because work is getting on
that
my
mental
nerve.
break.
Yeah, 2020 was a lot. I had to relocate. It was a lot for me, but I'm really happy. So I'm in a good
Yeah.
space. I'm really happy, just tired.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that in between. So 2020 was hard for everyone. I had my second daughter, which is awesome, but it was different from my oldest. So I was a hermit crab. I had to go to appointments by myself. It was just my husband and I. Um, no one's really met my daughter. Mo has not met my daughter yet.
I haven't.
My brother just met my daughter on Christmas. So um, mentally, it was rough. But I have started like the doctoral program, like I said, so that takes a lot of my time. I'm adjusting to being a mom of 2, not just 1. So that's tough. And then my 3-year-old is bored as hell, so we're kind of like all going stir crazy. But so I'm still kind of like in that in between of trying to adjust and then trying to get used to this norm for now. So
Yeah.
mentally, I struggle sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, but I say grounded through faith and family.
Right. That's really good. I just learned, so during this time, I learned everything about myself. I was like, well, I have time, and I was like, I got too much time. I be creating mind drama. I learned on 16 Personalities that I'm an ENTPA, which means I'm a debater. I'm an assertive debater. So with learning that, I learned a lot about myself, and I create mind drama when I don't have something occupying my mind, because I am in a more of a I need to always be occupying my mind, which is probably why I talk so much as well, because it's a lot of like, I like a lot of conversations. I like to talk a lot about life and just everything. And that's always getting my mind stirring. And that's why I'm so curious. So during this time, I will say that I'm super like happy with what's going on. I feel like I've started to really love myself.
Yes.
More.
Yes.
Like even Spicy, we talked about her last time, but she said there's a difference between self-esteem and self-worth, and I've always had self-esteem, but my self-worth was kind of low. So I think that's been really building over the last, I want to say, couple of years. But this year it really has gone to a maximum. Like, oh, I have these boundaries and these standards, even with my family. I'm like, no, I got boundaries with y'all now. Don't call me.
Yes, boundaries is important.
Like, I can only talk to you for a certain amount of time. We can only talk about certain things. I'm not going to have a conversation with you. Or if I am, you're going to either have to talk it out. And if you don't want to, don't call me a phone with this shit. Okay. So
boundaries.
Mood.
I have really, and then I'm the Jesus year this year, 33. So 33 is
yes.
So I'm feeling really good, but I do have lately, as of right now, I do have some moments where I'm kind of like really bored. And I think it's just because I am that more interactive person with lots of people. Like, I do like my space. Like, I like to get my chakras together, and there's times where I'll be like, no, I can't do anything. But that's because I've been doing so much, and I like interaction with groups of people and stuff like that. So I do get bored from time to time and start, kind of creating my own mind drama. But for the most part, I would say that I'm feeling, from the last year in this conversation, I'm feeling even more like, oh yeah, you got this, more self-worth, more just self-loving. So
a lot of reflecting.
Yes, definitely a lot of reflecting. But yeah, let me not talk too much. TK.
Yeah, last year I don't really I don't remember the whole conversation, but I do remember saying, yeah, this was like terrible. I think Candy and I were both saying, yeah, this is not a good year. So
yeah,
I learned a lot, and it was definitely it was needed. I think you need to go through those kind of trials and tribulations. And thankfully, my therapist, by the way, she's very impressed with me. She's like, your come around time is impressive. I'm like, oh, this is really great. So yeah, it's this year and the end of last year have been really good, and I've taken those lessons that I've learned and applied them. And yeah, I'm just like, when people ask me, I'm just slanging cocoa butter and hustling, man. That's my everyday situation.
Right. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's kind of like what we're going into. Like, if you do therapy, and have you done therapy, and what do you think about therapy? So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I wasn't necessarily against it, but I was just raised to like, I'm the first child of immigrants, so it's not a perfection thing, but I was raised that like you do it on your own, like you're strong enough, you could do it on your own, you can handle it on your own, and all sort of stuff. And just last year was just like too much all at once, and I just couldn't handle it. So I got a therapist, and I got a life coach, and I was having them in tandem, and it's kind of come to the point where I'm still kind of hard on myself, but I just think that's just, part of my personality that I'm dealing with. But, what she did make note of is she's like, you're just, your commitment to becoming better is great. I took it, I added to her, like, better than most, because that's just how I'd be doing stuff. But, it was really, really helpful to talk things out and all the little things. And then, in talking to, professionals, you become aware of those little idiosyncrasies in your personality, whether you want to change them or not. You just become more aware. And I've become acutely aware of all the little things that I do and say. And, some of them I'm just like, that's just who I am. And some of them I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm going to look into this and explore this more, which I was not about, like, last year. You couldn't tell me anything. It's like, all right, I am who I am. That's how it is. This is how it's going. And, I'm going to rock out until I meet Jesus. And
that
so
was until she started hanging with me.
Those are typically the clients that I get. They're like, I'm not trying to change. You can't change me. And I'm like, okay,
right.
sure.
So it was
we're gonna go with it.
Yeah, it was really helpful. And it was needed. I don't know. Thank you to Monique. She was
I was about to pull one too. I was about to say I'm about to pull a TK. Thank you. I mean, you're welcome, TK. You're welcome.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, she was the one who really, really encouraged it. And thank you to my insurance, because Lord's knows I wouldn't have been able to afford it on my own. So that it was an experience, and I'm really thankful. It's come to a point where now I'm talking to my therapist, and sometimes we have time where it's like, you know what, I'm good, and we can leave 20 minutes early. So it's definitely, I'm glad to not have something to like really try to dive into every single week, and I'm just working and progressing, and just appreciating the moment, which I wasn't doing before, and just living life.
Yeah, definitely. Kiki, have you done therapy? I think you've talked about this before.
I've never done therapy, but I am for therapy. So,
wow.
So I am such an advocate for it. I'm like, I don't even go, and I'm like, yes, everyone needs therapy. And a lot of reasons with me was because of insurance. So I'll be really transparent. It's not because I didn't want to go, but when I was younger, and even now, my great grandmother was kind of my therapist, because my family, we all suffer from depression. I suffer from depression. So she was kind of like my first therapist. So she got me a journal, and I started journaling. I started writing in my diary, and I had to sit and talk with my great grandmother every time, because she would read my diary. And as a kid, I was really depressed, and she would be like, let's talk about this. How do you feel? So shout out to my great grandmother. She was like the first therapist. And I think that's why I'm so for it in talking out feelings and talking about how you feel, and it's okay. Cause I know we can't do it by ourselves. And I know something for me, my great grandmother has passed, but something for me I've learned was to kind of deal with my depression on my own. And it's tough, but I just know I can't do this by myself. And not just for depression, just to talk to a therapist. So I am so for it. And a goal of mine in 2021 is, hopefully if I get the right insurance, is to go see a therapist. I just wish I could have seen one earlier. So I'm so for it. I just unfortunately haven't been to one yet.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of our people don't get therapy because of that. Like we can't afford it.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I definitely, for this episode, will tell everybody now that we will have a blog after this episode of transcripts that you can go on blackqueensuncut.com that will steer you to where you can go to seek help, and hopefully I can find a list of Black therapists.
Nice.
I can help you with that. As social work, I'm really
Robynn,
good on resources. Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna say Robynn will help me with that. Okay.
I definitely will.
I feel like, a lot of the times we don't get to talk to our own too, and we go through different problems, and it's great to see people like Robynn, because you're young as well, to be able to help a person like one of us queens, and we have that talking to, or be able to have that talk with somebody who can relate to what we're actually going through. It makes a big difference. But we will have those resources. I just want to let everybody know, just in case they don't make it all the way through this episode, we are going to have that resource for this episode up on blackqueensuncut.com. And so I will say that I have done therapy. Usually now I keep a life coach. And I do life coaching like once a month now. Sometimes I up it, depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. But I always recommend therapy for people. I know that people because I've had this conversation with friends. I know that people are, especially our community, finds it a stigma not to do therapy, but or have other outlets. But I feel like therapy gives you the tools to be able to take other outlets on as your therapy. Because if you don't find the tools, you're going to always resort back to those bad thoughts or habits or whatever. And if you get those tools, then you're able to learn other tools that can help you, that you may not have to go to a person all the time. You may just need art, or you may be able to travel, or when just certain things that help you. But yeah, that's for me. Robyn.
Yes. So I can talk about what made me be a therapist, because it kind of coincides in why I got therapy. So when I was 14, I did therapy, and it was kind of awkward because I felt like I couldn't relate to her. She was just writing down what I was saying, and she'd be like, "Yeah, tell me about that. Oh yeah, oh okay." And I was like, "That is that what my mom's paying for? Like, I got anybody listen to me. My grandma can listen to me." So I always thought I wanted to be a nurse like my mom and Martel's mom, and that's how they met. And I was like, I knew I wanted to make a change, and I knew I wanted to help people. So I thought I was going to be a nurse until I started doing it and drawing blood and started doing the anatomy, and I was like, no. And so I got into I was a cheer coach, and a crisis happened, and my mom was like, I think you just need to be a therapist. You have a niche for listening to people. People love to talk to you. People love to tell you all their business. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And got really into it. And when I had my oldest daughter, I showed signs of postpartum depression, but I didn't know that's what it was. My family, we do not talk about mental health. We do not talk about like things of that sort. So I was talking to my cousin one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm really sad. Like, I will just hold my baby, sit in the closet, and just cry. And postpartum depression looks different for every woman. For me, it was just I did not want no one touch my baby, and I also had a postpartum anxiety. So I did not want anyone to touch her. I didn't want anyone to even be around her. I felt like as her mother, it was my job to be around her 24/7, and to where she consumed my life. I wasn't Robyn, I was mom. And my cousin said, you ever thought about talking to somebody? And I was like, I did, and it sucked. And she was like, just give it a try. And I went through my fair share of therapists. By the fifth one, we really clicked. And that's when I noticed that I had postpartum depression. And I had to realize if I want to be a better mother, I had to be a better Robyn. And I had to remember who I was before I had my daughter. And that's when Monique, Martel, and we went to Vegas, and it just felt so good to get away. And I remember going back home, and I was just like, yes, like I can still turn up. I can still be me, but I can still be a mom too. That's another hat that I wear. And so that's what I like to bring on with my clients, because it's different talking to your friends and talking to a therapist. When you talk to your therapist, you get that real unbiased, unjudgmental. I'm really straightforward with my clients. I can sniff BS. So I tell them, if you're going to give me a false narrative, I'm going to treat in a false narrative. Right. And they'll be like, you're right, I'm still with my boyfriend. Because a friend is going to tell you, girl, leave him. I'm so tired of this, or just not even going to answer your phone. But the therapist is going to be like, no, tell me why you took him back for that 16th time. Will this be the last? Will there be number 17? Will it be number 100? Let's talk about that. So I think it's really important. And also as therapists, we also see a therapist, because we hear some very heavy things, and it's hard to digest, and we carry our clients with us home. We take our clients with us. So I also see a therapist for that reason too, is, I hear a lot of stuff, my perception of the world is different because of things that I've heard. So
I wonder that. I'm like, who listens to the therapist? Like, who do the therapists talk to? because we put so much on you guys. Well, who do you get to, I always wonder
we get
that.
to, yes, we do. And we don't, it's still confidentiality piece. So I don't tell them everything. I'll just be like, a client is sitting heavy with me and I can't release that. Can you help me? And my therapist will be like, well, what is it that's sitting heavy with you? And we'll go deep into why that's sitting heavy with me. It's because I'm trying to rescue that client. It's because I want to have that client see where they are in their worth, and they're not seeing it, but I see it. So it's those type of pieces that we do as therapists. And I still see my own for that reason, and to try to battle depression myself and try to make sure I'm a better Robynn all around.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Do y'all have y'all dealt with like depression, anxiety, suicide, just maybe past life traumas? Have y'all dealt with any of that? And I feel like our community deals with a lot of those things, and we just have to keep it in. And it's not you can't keep those things in.
You really can't. You really can't.
Yeah, you can't hold that by yourself. And so I feel like it comes out in other ways, maybe like anger and things like that. But I would love for us queens to talk about, and I know it could be a touchy subject, but I would love for us to express it, because we do have a lot of listeners and we never know what we're going through. And I've gotten a couple messages sometimes where I'll get DM'd by somebody and I just don't know them, and they'll be like one lady I will never forget. I was, she DM'd me and she was like, hey, I listened to you and I deal with depression. And every time I listen to like the podcast or whatever, she was like, I run home. I'm a teacher. She was like, I run home, I listen to it. And she was like, it just always makes me feel uplifted, and it makes me laugh, and it makes me feel better. So I also think that even though it is a touchy subject for us, it's also to inspire and help others. So have you guys dealt with any of your own issues that you feel like you're okay with talking about on here?
I want to kind of like take it back just a little bit. The reason why is that like my grandmother passed away last year, and I was talking to my older cousin, and he was giving me pretty much the tea on my whole like my aunts and my uncles when they were younger, even my mom. And in my grandmother passing away, I really understood certain things about my personality, because even up to my mom's generation, therapy and talking about stuff that doesn't happen. And that's not, there's certain things are just not up to this for discussion. Even in the previous episode, I think I mentioned we didn't talk about sex. It was just, you're not having
it. Don't do it. Yep.
Don't do it. Like there was none of that. So even in talking to my cousin and him breaking it down for me, it really made me understand, in the midst of me still doing therapy, like myself and my inner workings. And so, and with that too, because my grandmother suffered from dementia, so I wasn't able to ask her those questions. Now I drop little questions to both my parents about certain things that they've done, even to the point where why my dad became a vegetarian. And that has really been comforting to me, because your parents, they instill things into you intentionally and unintentionally. And with that being said, being the first child, I even up to now put so much pressure on myself that most of the times I'm successful, but in life could be a bitch, and you don't anticipate it being a bitch, because you are always, I was always thinking of winning. So the depression really set in when I wasn't winning anymore, and I couldn't figure out how to win. So it's one thing where it's just like, okay, I'm not winning, all right, I'm gonna do this and this and that, and then I'm gonna win. And when I'm not, when I did everything, I exhausted those options, and I literally was facing like, I'm making bad decisions, I don't know what to do. That's where the depression kind of set in. And like I said, like you said, Robynn, I'm a believer too in family and faith. And even though I don't necessarily talk to my family about those things, like when things get heavy, like I'm sitting by myself, thankfully my parents and my mom and instilled God. And that was the one I was talking to, and that's the person I rely on answers, but also realizing that there's people around me and there's opportunities and people are sent into your life for certain reasons. And I think if I didn't have that base, then like it could have been way worse. So, you know, if you don't believe in God, I just encourage you to believe in something, whether it's the universe or whatever, but there's something beyond you, but then also to listen to that. And there are people in the world that are either sent for a moment or sent for a season or sent for a lifetime, or just a little interaction that you just need to pay attention to. And then also just encourage that, you know, we are a society where if you, you know, continue to watch a certain Instagram, you know, of certain people, then you're going to feel forced to like, okay, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. But those people, they might just be renting that car for that day.
Okay.
Or the corner of their apartment that they're showing is just the corner of their apartment. And literally it's, you know, the friend's house, mom's house, stuff like that.
Right. That's not real life.
Right. So
it's not real life.
Just to take that and apply all of that from somebody you don't even know. Like it's just what I really learned from therapy is living in the moment and learning from the moment. Yeah. So with all that being said, yes, I've experienced depression, but I'm really thankful that my grandmother and my mom and all those, they just really instilled a really solid base of faith that no matter what is like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Let me just talk to Jesus and see what we can come up with. So that's my story.
Kiki?
For me, I've been, you know, I'm really transparent on this podcast. So everyone knows I suffer from depression. It's funny because the story that my family tells me is like, I guess when I was a baby, they used to say things like, oh, Nikki is a depressed baby. Like that was like the joke because they said as a baby, I would always like have my head down. I just seemed like a sad newborn and no one understood why. I'm like, that is weird. And I don't know. But I know a lot of things come with that because, you know, I'm really transparent. My mom is 35 years clean. So I know, and that's the reason why my great grandmother raised me. So that's why, you know, losing my great grandmother was like losing my mom, and I love my mom to death. So my mom's 35 years clean. So I know the depression comes from maybe that because my mom was on drugs and she didn't have to, but she decided, because I think my great grandmother said to her, the baby's depressed, let me help you. And she was like, you know what? So I know where that all comes from. So that's why I always say, like, my whole family, we all suffer from depression, but super blessed. And I've been such a blessed situation with my mother and great grandmother raising me, and those two being my first therapist and journaling and writing everything down. And I was raised by two incredible women who, as a kid, they just allowed me to kind of be myself and they let me express myself. They never, and like, I look back and I'm like, yo, my mom and great grandmother were so amazing because kids could sometimes, you know, kids are kids and kids could be a little too much, but they let me literally express myself. I went through a weird witchy stage. I thought I was a witch. I was into tarot cards at 10, and they would just be like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom was like, I'm from New York, but I grew up in Boston. They took me to Salem, and then they would ask me, like, why do you like these things? And so I love them because they let me express myself. But it's something that as I got older, I had to learn how to deal with my depression and how to function in life. And like TK said, I'm a very spiritual person. Like, I don't go to church, but God, like, that's my BFF. Like, that's someone who, as I got older, I had to learn how to communicate more because I don't go to therapy. So I started talking to God more. I started writing down more. Writing things down, my feelings. Like Monique always says about herself, I talk a lot as well. So sometimes I be talking to myself like, girl, we okay today? Okay.
Right.
Let's get some healing going on.
Right.
You know.
Why are you not laughing, sis? Let's talk about it.
Yo, let's talk about, like, that's, and I'm so serious. Like, I wake up and I say, thank you, God, for the day. And I'd be like, Kiki, how are you feeling today? What are we doing?
What are we doing today, sis?
What are we doing today? How are we going to, like, not sabotage ourselves and self-sabotage ourselves? So that's just something that, I work through all my traumas, and that's why I'm such an advocate for therapy, because when I am blessed to go to a therapist, I'm definitely going to go to one. But I am so happy that now our community, Black community, we've been talking about it a lot more, because I know as Black people, that's why there's so many generational things that have been passed down, because as old people would be like, no, don't talk about that. Like, we don't talk about what happened in our family. Right. And it's unfortunate that our grandparents and great grandparents had to go through that because they couldn't really speak to anybody. And I think that's why my great grandmother treated me the way she did, because she would express to me, my mom didn't allow me to do XYZ. So that's why when I raise my kids, my grandkids, and now you, I want you to talk about everything. So I love having someone like Robynn on and having the resources like Black therapy for Black girls, Instagrams like that. So that's why I try to channel like those resources and continue talking to myself as well.
Yes.
And then also shout out to Charlemagne the God. Like I think also what made it very accepting for me is that he would say religiously, like to a nauseating point, that every Friday at 3 he goes to his therapist.
Yep.
And it just, whether you like him or you dislike him or you don't care for him at all, just saying that on a loop, because he's very big on mental health, just saying that on a loop. And I listen to the Breakfast Club interviews all the time. Well, not as of late, but all the time at that point, that I think subconsciously, even when Monique said it, it was just that cosign. Because I don't think if I didn't hear him say it all the time, and then Monique said it, I don't know if I would have been as receptive. So I think the combination of it. So, he's definitely been a very big advocate. So just shout out to him, because I honestly think a lot of people wouldn't have gone if he just didn't, openly say it. And we all know Charlemagne got problems. So
and that's so true, because a lot of the time our hurt comes through comedy. And I do see a lot of people comment on his stuff saying, oh, you could tell Charlemagne has changed because he would have joked on that and he didn't say nothing, or you know what I'm saying? It does help you grow, but a lot of our funniness or our comedy, or when we laugh something off, because a lot of the times people will tell me, they'll be like, Mo, why are you laughing? It's so inappropriate to laugh right now. It's because that's what our community is kind of taught. Like, we're not really taught much, any other emotions but angry. And then if, it makes you feel uncomfortable, just kind of laugh it off.
Like Kiki.
Right.
Someone tweeted, somebody tweeted and said Black Twitter is hilarious because when there's something traumatic happening, Black Twitter, we make jokes, but that's normally, and we acknowledge that it's traumatic and we acknowledge it. But then as Black people, we do make the jokes because that's how we feel comfortable. And a lot of us, like you guys said, are not used to talking about why is that uncomfortable or why was that weird. And you're right, TK and Monique. Like, I know for Charlemagne and people like now Taraji and people now in the mainstream, especially in our community, who've been talking about it, people who have never thought about it are now listening to the Charlemagnes and the Tarajis like, damn, maybe I do need a therapist. Maybe like my mom loves her therapist. Like, my mom is in her 50s and she's like, I am obsessed with my therapist. She's like, I'm talking about childhood trauma. Like, and when I go visit my mom in Boston, like they FaceTime now and I'll hear them and I'm like, oh, she's so cute. Like, and I love that for her, because I know people her age, a lot of people don't see therapists and people our age. So I think it is a cool blessing to have now people in the mainstream kind of being like, hey, this is my platform. I support mental health. And this is why it's important to go to therapy.
Yeah, laughter's the best medicine. Laughter is the best medicine sometimes.
It definitely is. And I feel like sometimes we've learned to laugh things off, though, instead of looking to get help.
Addressing it.
Yeah, instead of addressing it head on or looking to find those tools to get help so that you can just address it head on. Because y'all know, and this is and I'll just put this out here because everybody else, thank you for your transparency. So, this is a safe space. I love for this to be a safe space as well. But I have my own childhood trauma, and it took me some time to work through it. Like, when I was in the 4th grade, I was molested. And so it was just kind of like, being overly sexualized, I had an ordeal about. Like, even sometimes now, I realize that it could be a trigger when somebody's like, oh, look at you looking good, your ass looking fat and stuff like that. I hate stuff like that. I mean, even though that is a form of, objectifying, that's not cute, it really triggers me sometimes. And I'm like, yo, like, I get so like in arms about it. But and then I'm the only child as well. And I felt like my grandma was around to take care of me because my mother, and if she ever heard this, she'd be mad. My mother is a narcissist. And she is very manipulative. and she will take the time to manipulate things so that they work out for her.
Mm.
And we have a tumultuous, relationship. And I have to learn how to maneuver that as well. So the only person I really did, because I didn't grow up with my dad either. Um, I don't know if he listens either, but if y'all do, don't get mad at me. They'll give me a call. They he spent a lot of time in and out of jail. So it's just one of those things where, and everybody always asks me like, oh my gosh, like you would never know you would have that type of story because you always have such a positive personality. You're always like, people think because I'm the strong or positive, laughing, smiling one all the time, that I've always been okay. And I haven't always been okay. And that is okay. It's okay to admit that you're not always okay.
It's okay to not be okay. It
Yes.
is my favorite quote. That's
It's
my
okay
favorite
to
quote.
not be okay. And thank you guys for being so transparent and like
That's my
sharing those
favorite
stories,
quote.
because that's like personal. So thank you for being transparent and open. But yeah, like it's okay to be the strong friend, because I'm also the strong friend, but it's okay for the strong friend to not also be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And I love that
say that to myself all the time. Like every day I'm like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry. Because as Black women, we are the strong, independent, do bad by ourselves. We don't need no man. We don't need nobody. We're
strong.
We can carry everybody on our back. That's what the Black community as women, that's what we looked to as, which is why society, if someone says something ignorant to us, we are the strong one to take it in. And also as Black people, we are really forgiving. We're quick to be like, oh, maybe that person didn't understand that they offended me by saying I got a big booty. They're not being mindful. So I'll excuse their ignorance. But I feel like our generation, we're like, no, we're going to call you out.
Yes.
And if you're being disrespectful, I'm not taking that. So yeah, I always tell myself it's okay.
It's like
to
the
not
most
be okay.
forgiving race, I feel.
It really is. And I feel like, I'm okay to the point where I can be transparent enough now, because I did take those tools and use them for what I needed to use them for. And honestly, like if my story inspires or helps anybody, I'm glad to tell it, just because I know that on the other side, you can get through it. Because by the time I got here, when I moved to LA, I don't know, it hit hard. I was like 22 when I moved to LA. So 10 years ago. But by the time before I graduated, the closest person to me, which was my grandmother, had died. That was the first time I had ever gone through anything that was like a death at all. And my grandmother had died. I had just, I was engaged, that was in between the time I had just, met this guy and we really fell in love, and we got engaged, and then he got shipped off to prison. And so when I was leaving, I was literally packing my bags and crying at the same time. My mom was like, are you like okay? And I'm like, I'm going to be okay. Just I'm packing.
That waiting to excel moment came in. I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you, it did. And I was just like, I was crying, like bawling my eyes out, and literally just packing this big old bag, just packing. And I went to Atlanta, and at that time, it was just, I didn't know how to grieve. But during that time, I was grieving, and I could tell because I was going through a lot. And then when I moved here, I went through the deepest depression that I would never even wish on a worst enemy of mine if I had one. Never. It was suicidal. Like I would be sitting there ready, like, just take me. I was like, you know what? I'm just walk down the street and jump in front of like a car or something. Like, just take me. Why would I go through this if I never, like, why should I have to live like this? And that's a deep thing. That's a mind thing. Like nobody can get out of that on their own. Like there is no way you can get out of that on your own. So I just feel like, with the help of a lot of different resources that I decide to utilize, I am me today. Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
Hey girl, hey.
She ready.
She ready. She happy.
She's self-loving, honey. She's so loving.
Period.
Period.
Can't nobody tell Mo nothing.
Right. And me and Robyn have had these conversations before. And so I just feel like, it's one of those things where you are not alone. Like you are not alone, and it is okay to not be okay. And it's okay to get help. It's okay. And
it is totally okay to get help. As therapists, we encourage people to get help because, life is hard. Life is no joke. And I feel like we're embarrassed to tell what really is going on, which is why I tell people, if you're embarrassed to tell your best friend that you're thinking these suicidal thoughts or that you just don't want to even get out of bed, because on Instagram, we post that, yeah, I'm turned up, got my music on, but then when you turn that camera off, you may be crying. And that's when you need to talk to someone like me. Why are you crying? What makes you cry? Some people don't even know until like we ladies have all talked about that inner child that we haven't soothed and healed from, which later on affects us as adults.
Speak on it, Robyn.
Right.
I won't be Dr. Mays for nothing, okay?
I feel like I'm in therapy right now. I'm like, yes,
I will not be
Robyn.
Dr. Mays for nothing. Do you hear me? Okay.
I said, Robyn, speak to me, girl.
Well, that's why I really want to get on too, because you're talking about grieving, you're talking about sexual abuse. I want to speak to moms. It is hard being a mother, and I feel like as mothers, we are like, we want to make sure everyone is okay but us, and we cannot do it on our own. So in school, I am working on resources and getting a program together where I can support moms with postpartum depression to give them prenatal care and postnatal care.
Yes.
I feel like we're so quick to get monthly checkups, pap smears, annual checkups. But what about our mind? Our mind is also part of our body that needs to get checked up and needs to have something to talk to and get that little tuned in too. And so that's what I'm working on. And that's what I hope to use my platform when I do graduate, is to educate and bring that to not only moms, but later on we'll talk about in our community as well.
That's awesome.
Definitely. I just feel like, just being able to be transparent about it, just like TK was saying, like with Charlamagne saying it, listen, my therapist, he always says that I hear to my therapist, and I never listened to Charlamagne until after he started talking about his therapist and how he goes to therapy. And when he started promoting it, I was like, okay, I can listen to Charlamagne, because I've heard some of their stuff before, and I was like, oh, he's a trash person.
Yeah.
And
that hurt. That's that hurt. Hurt people.
Hurt
people.
Yes,
hurt
people. And that's why comedians are so funny, because they take from their trauma, and that's kind of like their therapy, because they get on stage and they're able to talk about these dark things. Like Richard Pryor was the GOAT of doing it, but he literally was telling traumatic stories from his childhood. But because, laughter is what, Black people, we love, but it's easy. My dad's a stand-up comic, so it's like really interesting to like learn about comedy and why we like tap into that, and why we need to hold on to that laugh. But same thing with Charlamagne and other folks, hurt people. So where you look at him today and you listen to him today, it's a totally different Charlamagne from not even the Breakfast Club, but if you listen to him when he was on Wendy Williams' show, which I used to, that show was ridiculous and it was crazy. Like, it was really inappropriate, and the things he used to say, but I knew why he was what's the word, like lashing out, because I used to be like, something's wrong. So if you listen to him today from him like 15 years ago, you see the complete difference. And I know that's from therapy. I know that's from growing up and realizing like, ooh,
not letting people take you there.
Yep.
Yeah, or not even like, I feel like that, and I also do feel like it could be triggering sometimes. Like you're like, oh, I don't want nobody to be better than me, so I'm going to put them down before they can get to me, or I'm going to put them down because I feel some type of way inside. I think, and this is a question that's not on here, not on the platform, but I think this is a great question. How do y'all feel with mental health, and how does social media affect your mental health? Because I realized I just did a break. I did a 2-week break, and I was feeling like, okay. And then I got back on, and I was like, okay, I'm not waking up feeling the same way I was waking up feeling like 2 weeks ago. So how do y'all feel about that?
I take
And
them
does it
frequently.
affect you guys as far as when you're on social media? Do you kind of like are harder on yourself? Because I realized that too. That's another thing that happened to me this year was that I'm learning how to be gentler and more compassionate with myself. Because if I can't do that with me, how am I supposed to do that with anybody else?
Right.
Yes.
So yes, the social media, let me get back to the point. The social media affects, do you feel like it affects your mental health?
All the time.
I feel like it doesn't, because I'm not on there like just scrolling. Like when I go on social media, I'm either looking at stuff to be inspired to do stuff for the business, or looking at stuff like I take from it to get ideas for shows or businesses or whatever. But I don't, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing in entertainment or running the business, then I wouldn't be on social media like that. Like I just don't, I never really had an interest. It's even with like TV shows. Like I didn't start really watching TV until I started getting into the industry. Like I just, I'm a person of routine. So like I get up in the morning and now I do my motivational stuff. And now I have like my 2 workouts. I just added cardio. So like you can't really get like to me until like 1. And then that's when I'm really into like the business. So I've actually been spending less time on social media because, and like educating myself with other things. So it doesn't really affect me. But if you are like working like a 9 to 5, and then you use that as a source of entertainment, like I can see how that, if you're following the wrong accounts or like a certain group of people, I can see how that can get into your subconscious, especially if you might be at a job you don't like, or like your situation is looking a certain way. But for me, it doesn't really, it doesn't affect me because I'm using it as a business tool. So I don't ingest like I'm either following businesses or I'm following people like you ladies who are like inspired, like, oh, okay, Kiki's like, I see what Kiki's doing. That's inspiring. And you know what I'm saying? Like that's how I take social media. So the people that I follow or the businesses I follow are not like negative. And if it is negative, then I just mute it and like, all right, well,
that mute button is important.
Yeah,
it's real. That unfollow too. I'd be like,
oh my gosh, that is amazing. I was like, oh,
I've unfollowed and stopped talking to a lot of people in the past year because I'd be like, oh, yeah, I don't have time.
I'm like TK, where like social media has never really affected me mentally, but I did notice something that I was doing. I started doing this thing where, not because of like what people look like or anything, it was more of my career. This is when I think it really messed with me, where I was watching other people on social media where I felt like they were a little bit further than me, or they were doing more than me as far as like hosting and red carpets. And then I started doing the comparing my story, like, oh, how come, like, that's what really messed with me. Like, I had to take a step back and be like, yo, you gotta stop doing that. And I started to understand like everyone's story is not like your story is not like their story. Everyone's time is different. So I had to learn and started following more positive things. And that's why now on my page, I start to post more inspirational things. That's why I'm always posting on my story really inspirational things, because it helps me and I'm hoping that it helps others. And so many people have reached out to me and said that it has. But I definitely was doing the comparing thing on social media, like, oh, this person's lit. They're doing all these interviews, but I can't seem to get there. What am I doing wrong? And I really had to like take a step back and be like, girl, enough. But I understand. Like when my friends tell me they erase their social media, it's like, I get it. Like and if I wasn't in entertainment and media, I wouldn't have it. And I know we're the generation that, like, you know, I remember when Facebook was first created. I remember being on Twitter and having a MySpace, Black Planet. So we are that generation who are kind of like, we were bred into the damn social media thing, AIM and Instant Messenger. So I get why millennials, while we're all like in the psychics, while we're in our phones like that. So I do give it to people who are like, I need to take a break. I need to take a step back. So I just recommend start following different people, erase and unfollow and mute the people that you feel like are causing you harm, and not like intentionally, but you feel like they're not working for you, because that's what I had to do. And I also had to learn to stop comparing myself to everyone's story, because our stories are different. So that's how it affected me. And, you know,
that's what I think a lot of it is comparing, because TK, well, she'll tell you, because she always tell me, she'll be like, oh, you wasn't on social. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not looking at that. I'm not big on social. I don't care for it. if I wasn't in media, I'm in media and I don't hardly be on it.
Okay.
Like I just literally started posting 3 times a week just because we have Black Queens Uncut. But I'm not on it. I don't really care for it, but I do. And then that's what it is. It becomes a comparison. I work in a look industry. I've worked in fashion for over 10 years. It's all about the way you look. It's all about the way you present yourself. It's all about, who is doing this, and if you wear a label like this, I work in that industry, and I've worked in that industry for a long time, and it's never really affected me in the way that I feel like sometimes social does, because I follow majority of the people that I just know, but like it comes to comparison, because like if I want, everybody always knows I talk about my show, and I'm like, oh, I want my show or whatever. And I feel like this is a time that it has to do with me, because the comparison comes when I see somebody who just got their show, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing, Mo? Like, you're not doing anything with your life.
Same.
But I think it's all about
doing nothing with your life because you don't have your show and you're talking to them. Like, I'll still congratulate them. I'll still be like, oh my gosh, how'd you do it? And they could, they could be the nicest people and be like, boom, 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 this is how you do it. And I just be like, Mo, you're not doing enough. You're not like
something that helped me, that I realized, I was like, yo, but Nikia, like, you don't know their journey. Like, you don't know their struggle. Yes. And it took me a while to get there, but I was like, wait, but damn, I don't know what they've been through and how far they've been fighting to get there. And that's something that it took me a while to process. And that's something I'm still working on, because there's once in a while I'll be like, oh, this is so great. Congrats to them. But I'm like, put your damn phone down, girl. Right. And focus on you and do what you need to do, because everyone's story is different. But I'm just like you, Monique. I used to be like, God damn it. But I'm like, no, Nikia, because you don't know what they had to do to get there, and blessings to them. And God in the universe just has a different time for you. So that's why I started following more like inspirational Instagrams and pages that were like telling people how to feel better about themselves. And I started like unfollowing like influencers and people like that, because I was like, oh, no. Let me follow these great inspirational pages that give affirmations daily and stuff like that. So that's definitely.
I don't really follow influencers at all.
I don't either.
Neither do I. I think I follow people who I didn't know were influencers, and then they said they were, and I was like, ew.
Yeah.
But then also it goes back to Hannah's. People might be saying the same thing about you ladies. Man, I want a podcast. They podcast is seen all across the world. I want to get that. So it goes both ways, because I went to a big school. And I went to a big university, and I was in a sorority. So I have a lot of people that I follow. And I'd be like, look at this person, just bought them a house. Look at this person, they just bought a Benz. Look at them. Look at them, they nice wedding. Must be nice. I'd be like, look at Martell moving to Seattle. And I'm back in California.
Last night. Actually, I was talking to Martell. Was it last night or the night before? I don't know. I was talking to somebody last night. And when I tell y'all, I just compare myself to John Ossoff. I think my friend wanted to get off the phone, because I was like, listen, do you know that John Ossoff is 33 and I'm 33? What is going on?
Right.
Right. That's the thing. I'm like, oh, look at them. They just got married. How nice. I can't even get a good morning text. Like, I doing that. I'm like,
it's so crazy. I don't know if you know Mina. Mina posted something on her about she's turning 30. And she posted that her mom and dad both left the country. Like, they were fleeing for their life. Her mom went to Europe, got her doctorate degree, raised kids all before the age of 30. Woo. And it's crazy. But that's just a side note. But the positive thing about social media is that you just never know who's following you and who's inspired by you. And it's been an incredibly great networking tool for me.
Yes.
Like, I've met so many people on both case scenarios. Like last year, I was dealing with stuff for immigration, and I put up a GoFundMe page, thankfully, before the pandemic happened. And so many people that I just kind of knew off a whim supported me. And, I'm really thankful for social media. Like, I'm not on social media like that, but, I drop my stuff here and there. But it's literally like, yo, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working. Like, I'm about the hustle. period.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really great networking tool, because I think with Anasia, I was trying to remember where I met her, but we really connected on social media. And then when I was trying to throw those like women's events, that was a lot of people that I met through social media as well.
Where I met her at.
Right.
You're a bitch.
So it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, it's taking the tool. You can take it for good and bad, and using it, you know, for good. If your intention is like, yo, I want to get my bag and I haven't got my bag at this thing, then how am I gonna do that? Because like you were saying, Kiki, we can't do it alone. We weren't born on an island. And, you know, whether that person gives you information or whatever, you know, you just don't know if they're here for a time or a season. Like I was talking about how I met this dude on Tinder, and he's become my business consultant. We just talk about business legitimately. That's awesome. So you just never know. And so just, you know, remaining open to it, and maybe taking the negative spin on it, and you know, putting it for a positive. Because I do know some influencers that I met through the gym, but they're amazing individuals. And then I just like, yo, since you be influencing stuff, can you just influence your stuff with my product? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, you just never know. But I definitely agree. If it's causing you a negative situation, then just hit that unfollow.
Let it go.
I'd be happy
not bringing you peace
sometimes.
Yes,
I just compare myself to John Ossoff, okay? And I'm not even in politics. But then, you know, I just had a friend that actually helps me a lot. Anytime I need to ask information about media or how to get where I need to go, like with the podcast or other things I have coming up. And he's good at just like saying boom, 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 you know, this is how it, it was done, how I did it, da-da-da. And now, you know, he has a show, and I'm just like, like, oh my gosh, like I need to log off because I need to congratulate and get, you know, because I'm like, how'd you, like, I want to show, but it does get that comparison. And I tell you one thing, I don't mind Instagram because it's me checking myself, because I follow just usually a lot of the people that I know. And I'm in a lot, you know, I do have a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, you're out there doing your thing. Like I have people in my hometown who are nervous to talk to me. Like my own cousin was nervous to talk to me because he's like, you're a celebrity, you're out there. I'm like, no, like, you know.
People do reach out a lot. People do reach out and say like, wow, like that's so cool. And I love that, because like Robyn, you said earlier, like I think sometimes we look at the things that we may not be doing, but then someone's looking at us like, wow, that's so awesome that they get to do a podcast, they get to do interviews, they get to work in fashion and do all this cool stuff. So I think that's awesome. I still get shocked when people do that. I'm like, really? Cool. So that's another reason why I try to utilize my social media now. And like people be like, oh, your stories are hilarious. I'm like, I'm just weird, but if you like it, I'll just keep uploading.
That's cool. Me. I just started watching Insecure. So my commentary, and now my phone is fixed. I got a new phone. So everyone loves my commentary, but also people are like, I want to go back to school. Can you help me? Can you help me figure that out? Or I think people are more excited for me getting my doctorate. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm getting my doctorate. That's an amazing. No, you are going to be a doctor. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
That's so amazing to see like a young Black woman sit on this platform and say, I'm about to get my doctorate. I'm about to be a doctor. You know how dope that is?
Which is why I'm doing it. I tell people all the time, this doctorate is for my people. You know, for so long we've been told we can't do this, we can't do that. We have a Black VP, we had a Black president, we getting out there, getting that Black doctorate. So that's why I'm getting it. I tell people all the time, like when I got my master's, I was like, this is for us. And everyone's kind of looking around like, you know, I wanted it to be, no, this is not mine, this is ours. Because I want to inspire my people. We can get out there, we can do like what everybody else can, no matter what anyone says. You can do it if you really put your back into it, you know. So
back into it.
And then also like on social media, maybe moms like, you know, now right after you have the baby, they take pictures and maybe make it look all glorious. No, my pictures, I was rough. I was like, you know, I was sweating and I felt everything because the epidural wore off and, you know, legs wide open, baby crying, and they be all like, hi, this is me. I was like, oh, she's a lot.
But you know what? People appreciate the real, and people appreciate because for so long we've seen people, like we've all said, posted in that one corner of the floor that they've slept in, but you don't know that, or renting that Airbnb. I appreciate that. That's why like I started posting posts where like I won't have makeup on, or I'm posting what I really look like. Like I remember I posted a photo of me in a bikini when I went to Mexico like 3 years ago. I would have never done that ever in my life when I was young, ever. And I was in Mexico and I posted it. I turned my phone over. That was the most likes I've ever gotten in my life. And we were in Mexico, like, damn.
People love real. People love struggles. People love to be relatable. They love that. They love that. You know, hey, why did you post that? Oh, I was insecure, but I'm not insecure no more.
Okay.
Oh, well, you just helped me. I'm about to go to Mexico, put a bikini on. You know, so it people like that.
Yeah.
Right, definitely. And I also think, you know, just talking about you know, getting back to just the mental health side, I think it's easier for women to do it than men. So I really want, and Robyn, maybe you can speak on this too. I really would want to see men do it a little more too, like seek therapy a little more.
Yeah, so a lot of the times when I do like see a man in therapy, it's mostly because they've hit rock bottom. You know, it's like that man, you know, I'm strong, you know, I don't really need nobody and I can take care of myself and be my own therapist. But sometimes when they reach out, it's looked to as weak. A lot of people think when you speak to a therapist, you're weak or something's really going on and you're embarrassed about. And so just trying to talk to men, and then also therapist is a more dominant woman background. So a lot of men don't feel comfortable telling how they really feel about something to a woman. They're kind of like, well, you don't know how it feels to be a man. You're right. Help me to understand, because I don't know how it feels like to be a man. So help me understand from a man's perspective and how I can help you with your situation. I don't like to call them problems. I call them situations. So, you know, it's just trying to reach out and let them know, yes, as women, we are different genders. However, I can still relate to you on something, or I can still help you with something. I can still boost you and motivate you. That self-worth Monique was talking about in something. So it's just trying to break down that barrier as well.
Yeah.
Especially in the Black community with Black men.
I think it's hot if more men go to therapy. Like I talk to my guy friends. I'm like, do you go to therapy? Mind you, I do not go yet, but I'm always like, do you see a therapist? Because I think that's really hot. Like,
yes,
I think that's amazing. And I get so shocked when guys are like, yeah, I see a therapist. I'm like, what? Like that to me is such a turn on. And I wish that more
I love when they come in my office. I'm like, oh, pick me.
Girl, I'm like, okay, yes, let's go to therapy together. So I think it's hot when more guys, like I love vulnerability and I love when men are more vulnerable because, you know, in our community, like you said, like it's looked at as weak, men crying. And I just tell men all the time, one, it's okay to cry. Two, it's okay to speak about your situations and to go see a therapist. This is 2021. Like, let's grow up. Like, let's get rid of those generational traumas. Move forward and teach our boys it's okay to love up on people. It's okay to hug. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is when I do talk to guys, I'm like, do you see a therapist?
They're like, yeah.
That's so hot to me. I don't know. Right? That's how I know I'm in my 30s.
I think it's amazing. If a man is like, yeah, I've done therapy or I've gone to therapy, I'm like, can we be together?
Oh, okay.
I know
because that shows that you're going to better yourself. I like that. You're going to better yourself.
It's hot. It's hot.
You are about
That's hot.
That's hot.
And just the last question before we wrap up, what would you want to teach your children or the younger generation about mental health?
I'll go first. Oh, sorry, Robyn.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I would just kind of like how my great grandmother and mom did, like how it was important for them to teach me about mental health and how it was important for them to, you know, give me a space and talk about my feelings and to address it. So I would definitely tell my kids, boy, girl, non-binary, whoever, I say this, but I don't want kids. If I get kids or the younger generation, the younger generation, I want them to know it's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to not be okay, but to know that you have resources out there, you have people. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not okay, especially for boys. And I know there's so many kids like non-binary and trans and so many different kids that are going through so many different things. So now the positive, like TK say, for social media, there's so many different pages now, resources, numbers. I was just on TikTok last night and someone put up a number where you could just call just to scream on the phone, and it is true and it works. If you listen to this podcast, I will put it on the social media page. So just want to let the kids know that it's okay, but it's also okay to talk about your feelings. And if you're not comfortable, get a journal, write these things down, and get a diary and start writing down your feelings. Maybe do a vlog for just yourself, keep it private just to talk out loud. And maybe talk to your parents if you can and say, hey, I would love to talk to someone. And if you feel like they're not receptive, just know that you have resources and there's people out there now. And now you have shows like Taraji P Henson show, you have Charlamagne talking about it, you have someone like Robynn. And I hope going forward that more schools, they have these tools in schools and mental health talks. And because we have a lot of talks about bullying, but I do want schools going forward to teach kids about mental health and letting them know like it's okay, and these are the different, like it's okay. And it doesn't make you a bad person if you're suffering from this. So yeah.
Oh, that was perfect. How can I go after that? So same thing, kind of like Kiki was saying, I want to teach my children and also the younger generation that I work with and will work with in the future. I want them to know, like we've been saying this whole time, it's okay to not be okay. You're not alone. A lot of times we feel like when we feel sad or we feel something, we're going through something, we're the only one that has been through it. And that's not true. Someone has always been through something that you can relate to, and to reach out, have that safe space. If you don't have that safe space with your parents, find a friend, try to seek help. So help can mean many different ways. Help could be, they have programs. We have mental health programs. We have like little fun activities. It's just so many resources that's out there. And I want my children to know that if I don't have the answer, or if they don't feel comfortable, to find someone to talk to and to be open and transparent with their feelings and what they're going through, because I don't want them to feel shut out. I don't want them to feel like they don't have a voice. I don't want them to feel like they should be afraid to use their voice. They're afraid how I will feel, or how their dad will feel, my husband will feel, or, anyone. I want children and our younger generation to stand up for what they believe in, even if it's something that they might hear backlash for. That's what we are here for. We are here to empower our youth. We are here to make them feel that they are supported, because I feel like my generation, we were big on, just doing things on our own. And now that we know how that feels, we want that to end with us. So that's what I want my children and the younger generation to know, is that you are not alone, and we will always find something or someone for you to succeed and overcome any obstacle in life.
Right. I definitely retweet both of y'all. And I will just add that always be okay with asking for help. I think that's the hard thing that our community is, very hard about. Like, we have this thing where we need to be super independent. And I think that also comes with the younger generation, even though they're more social, they have more of the we accept everyone type, thing going on. It is still hard sometimes to ask for help, or if you need something, and it's funny because me and Martell talked about this too. And I think this is more for parents. Parents, be okay with your child communicating everything to you. Like, we were shut in our parenting years. We were shut down. It was disrespectful if you challenged a thought that they didn't think, that they thought. You might have been like, you know what? I don't agree with that. And our parents would be like, well, you're being disrespectful. Mm-hmm. That's not disrespect. That's just challenging a notion to have a conversation. So have that communication. And I want to tell the younger generation, keep pressing it. Keep pressing the real issues. Continue to stay what we call, quote unquote, say woke. And just be okay with educating yourself. And also, like Kiki said, I was a big advocate. My grandma introduced me to journaling too, very young, because she was just like, if you can't, and books, books and journaling was her number one thing. I thought I was a witch too, so
yes, witches unite.
The movie Teen Witch totally had me. I was like, that's me.
When the crown came out, I thought I was a damn witch.
The same again. I was like, yeah, that's me.
My grandma used to be like, you could go into the library and get whatever book you want. I was like, whatever book. I used to get little.
That's so awesome.
All types of stuff. So I would say, to get back to the point, I would say journal, and kind of like, we all know that statistics have showed that if you write it down, it actually sticks with you, or you get it out so you can clear your mind better than like typing or anything. But I know you guys type. I know you guys like your phones. I know y'all like the audio stuff. So if you have to even do it that way, just find a way to express yourself so that you can get the clarity of getting it out, and to figure out what's maybe going on, or what may be eating at you, or anything of that sort. And continue to just, speak up. Just say things. If you are being abused, speak up in any way. So yeah, that's just my take on it, and what I would want to say to the younger generation, or my children, when I do decide to have them. So yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna need to call you, Robyn, because with these children today,
I love working with the younger generation. They're awesome.
I'm getting used to them.
I love it.
Speak up. I was like, speak up, but yeah.
They'd be like, Robyn, you not hit the whoa? I'd be like, yeah, I do.
Wow.
They'd be like, can I put you on TikTok? I'd be like, I can't, but I do the savage dance with you too. Yeah.
I think for me, what I think would be really helpful, what I really want to teach my children is history. It's a combination of history, and the combination of also questioning authority. Because like if I didn't go the track route to college, I don't think I would have. I think that wouldn't have been my destination. But there's different paths for everything. But I think really learning the history culturally definitely helped me navigate through life. But then again, if I had known certain things about my grandmother and my mother and stuff like that, I think that would have also helped as well. Because, then you won't repeat certain things. And I found out that I was repeating certain cycles because I didn't know that that's already happened, So I think that's really, really important that, it really boggles me when somebody says, oh yeah, like my parents are from the islands. Like, oh, what part? Oh, I don't know. Like, what? So I think history is really, really important. That's one thing that I really want to instill in my children. That I think kids today, if you can make it fun and make it not be a lesson, just something that's interesting, that would be really beneficial. So we don't repeat certain things. I'm finding people are repeating things. It's like, no, that happened like 30 years ago. Like, you should figure it out. So that's really important. And then I would also encourage them to speak up, even though I'm not really feeling that idea. I'm going to need to get therapy on that part. But that, being able to really express yourself, because if you can do that at a younger age, then you'll better understand, because there's still things that I'm learning that like I should have known, like, girl, you should have got this like 15 years ago. But like, there's just things that, you just don't, if you don't know, you just don't know. So I really want I think everybody does for their kids. They want their kids to be a better version of them. So, I really want them to be able to fully express themselves, but also realize that the reason for the expression, because it could be like you're just going through a moment, or it could be something that's going to be with you through life, and fully like understanding that. And then also for myself, being able to like, all right, cool. This is what we going with today. So I'm going to have to call you when I knock out my baby, because clearly
yes,
Get
up my line. You can call me on my cell phone.
Definitely be calling Robyn if I have a kid. I don't want to, but if I do, I definitely will be.
If he accidentally, girl, we already know.
Hit me up.
I definitely will.
Hit me up.
Thank you, Robyn, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, this was a longer conversation because this is our last episode for season 2, y'all.
Woo! Season 2.
Season 2 wraps up this way. Happy Black History Month. Robyn, we thank you for having you. Tell us everywhere where they can find you and what you will have going on here in the future.
Yes, so you can find me at Dr. Robynn. It's doctor spelled out dot Robynn. I am planning on starting to graduate next June. So I will be officially be Dr. Robynn. And I plan on going to conferences, a lot of like Black conferences to talk about mental health, as well as a lot of postpartum mom conferences to speak out as well. I'm going to shoot my shot. I am going to try to talk to Taraji P Henson. I'm going to slide in her DMs. I want us to get connected so I can help and use that platform too to really go out and know in our communities and really just talk about how important it is to take care of your body and your mind. So that is what I got going on in the future. And, just really thank you, ladies, for helping, for letting this be a topic, for letting us be vulnerable and be honest and have each other back as queen, as Black women. We have women support women. And I really felt the love. And I just want to say thank you for even having me on this platform. Just thank you.
Yes. Ladies, let them know where they can find you.
Yes, Robyn, thank you so much for coming. This was one of my favorite episodes and conversations, and just thank you just for being here because I feel like I was in therapy. So appreciate you.
Yay!
No, it's really, really great. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone listening, you guys can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom.
And thank you. I echo that. And I believe I'll look, or maybe we'll get together and look, or Robyn, you can tell us when, Black Lives Matter happened, there was a 1-800 number that people could call for therapy that was, free, that you didn't need insurance for. So I'm sure there are things that are there, because I did give one of my friends that 1-800 number. So we can look for that. Or just DM us, and then I'll, gladly try to find that number for you. So yeah, you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. And like I said, it's the end of Black History Month, so why not support a Black business? So go to centurion.co, get your cocoa butter, get all your body scrubs and all that good stuff. We really, really appreciate that. And just men, gentlemen callers, if you want to slide into that DM.
Yes.
I'm putting in the universe. Some things are gonna happen at the end of this year. So if you want to be part of that empire, then apply.
Okay.
I heard that. Well, I met my husband at a birthday party, so hey,
nice.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Put it out there, girl.
I like that.
Right. Amen. You can find me on IG at It's Monique Loveless. And we will, like I said before, we will be posting resources for mental health resources on the blog when this airs. So you can go onto our website, www.blackqueensuncut.com, to find those resources and make sure you utilize them. We're going to have multiple resources on there so that, we can contribute in any way possible. And we're going to try to find all the Black businesses or therapists that we can to make sure that we are putting that out there as well. So make sure you utilize that. Make sure you go there and make sure you take a look at it. Even if you need to pass it on to a friend, it is there. So yes, check us out at Queens Uncut on all social media platforms. Also, make sure you check out the video on our YouTube at Black Queens Uncut. And you will catch us in season 3. We will announce it when we're coming back for season 3. We won't be gone for long, but the queen's got to take a break. And catch up on all the rest of the episodes. We're on Apple, Anchor, Spotify, wherever you are, we are too. So the Queendom family can become bigger, and we can't wait to see you guys and talk to you guys next season. Thank you so much. Thanks to our producer, Josh. Thank you, Queens. Thank you, Robyn, for taking us out.
Yes. And if you're in California and you would like to see me, I can totally do that too, but only within the state of California. That's where my license is applied. So
nice.
Just slide in my DMs and I can help you as well.
We're definitely going to have you on the page. So yes, definitely check that out. We'll have the links everywhere for you. Kiki will put it on social media once it drops and everything. So everything will be there. And thank you, Queendom family, for wrapping up season 2 with us, for listening. And thank you to all of our guests this season. We had so much fun with everybody. And we will see you guys next season. Thank you, Robyn. And bye, Queendom family.
Bye.
Bye.